Her jealousy turned violent, knives flashing. I loved her, so I stayed. Then I found it, a letter she never wanted me to see. I was scrolling through my old Facebook messages one night in my small Chicago apartment, the city lights flickering through my window, when a name popped up I hadn't seen in years. Sarah, my first kiss back in high school, when we were just clumsy kids sneaking behind the bleachers at Lincoln High. That was 20 years ago, in 2005, and I hadn't thought about her in forever. Her message was short, flirty, asking if I remembered her. My heart did a little flip. Of course I remembered her. How could I forget those hazel eyes, that laugh that made everyone turn? I typed back, cautious but curious, and we started chatting. It felt like no time had passed. Sarah was living in Milwaukee now, working as a barista, and she seemed just as vibrant as I remembered. We texted for days, then hours on the phone, her voice pulling me back to those teenage summers. She joked about coming to Chicago, and before I knew it, I invited her down. When she stepped off the train at Union Station, her smile hit me like a freight train. She looked older, sure, but those eyes still sparkled. We grabbed coffee at a little shop on Michigan Avenue, and it was like we were 15 again, laughing over dumb inside jokes. Things moved fast. Too fast, maybe. By the second visit, we were tangled up in my apartment, her whispering she loved me as the city hummed outside. I said it back, caught up in the moment, my heart racing. It felt right, like fate had brought us back together. She asked me to be her boyfriend, and I said yes, without thinking. We were a couple again, just like that, planning weekends and dreaming about the future. But cracks started showing early. Sarah would get quiet if I didn't text back fast enough. She'd ask who I was with, her voice sharp, like she was waiting for me to slip up. One night, she called me at 2 a.m., crying, saying she was scared I'd leave her. I brushed it off, told her she was being silly, but my stomach twisted. I remembered high school, her mood swings, how she'd cling to me like I was her lifeline. I thought she'd grown out of it, but maybe I was wrong. I ignored the red flags, caught up in the rush of being with her again. She'd show up with homemade cookies, or we'd walk along Lake Michigan, her hand in mine, and I'd think, this is worth it. But deep down, I knew something was off. Her intensity was a double-edged sword, passionate one moment, suffocating the next. I told myself we'd figure it out, that love was messy, but I had no idea how messy it was about to get. The first few weeks with Sarah were a whirlwind, but the cracks in our relationship started to widen, fast. Living in Chicago, I was juggling my job as a graphic designer, late nights at my Lakeview studio, and Sarah's constant need for reassurance. She'd text me 10 times if I was out with coworkers, her messages shifting from sweet to frantic. "Where are you, Mike? Who's with you?" I'd reply, trying to keep things light, but her tone made my chest tight. I'd come home to find her waiting on my doorstep, her eyes puffy, saying she just needed to see me. It was intense, and not in a good way. We broke up for the first time after a month. We were at a bar in Wicker Park, and I laughed at something a bartender said, a woman, just being friendly. Sarah's face darkened. She grabbed her coat, stormed out, and didn't answer my calls for 2 days. When she finally did, she was sobbing, begging me to take her back. I felt guilty, like I'd done something wrong, so I agreed. We made up, spent a weekend holed up in my apartment, watching old movies and eating takeout from Lou Malnati's. For a moment, it felt like we were okay. But the cycle kept repeating. Every 2 weeks, it seemed, we'd fight over something small, me staying late at work, a friend liking my Instagram post, or even me forgetting to call her after a long day. She'd scream, cry, or go silent, locking herself in my bathroom once for hours. I'd stand outside, knocking, feeling like I was failing her. Each breakup was a gut punch, but each time she'd come back, teary-eyed, promising to change. I took her back 4 more times, each one chipping away at me. My friends started noticing. "Mike, she's exhausting you," my buddy Jake said over beers at the Green Mill. I nodded, but I didn't know how to let go. Sarah's jealousy wasn't just emotional, it got physical. One night, she grabbed my phone while I was sleeping, scrolling through my texts. I woke up to her shaking, accusing me of talking to an ex. I hadn't, but she wouldn't listen. She threw my phone against the wall, the screen cracking. I shouted, she cried, and we broke up again. That time, I told myself it was over for good. I couldn't keep doing this dance. I loved her, or at least, I loved who she used to be, but this wasn't love. It was chaos. The final straw came on a rainy night in October. I was at my apartment, exhausted, trying to focus on a freelance project. Sarah showed up unannounced, banging on my door. Her hair was soaked, her eyes wild. "Why don't you love me anymore?" she screamed. I tried to calm her, but she wouldn't stop. She accused me of cheating, of lying, of everything under the sun. I'd had enough. "Sarah, we're done," I said, my voice shaking but firm. "This isn't working. It's over." Her face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. She sank to the floor, sobbing so hard I thought she'd break. My heart ached, but I couldn't back down. I helped her up, called her a cab, and watched her leave, rain blurring the taillights as she disappeared down Clark Street. I went back inside, my hands trembling. I sat on my couch, staring at the cracked phone screen, feeling a mix of relief and guilt. I thought that was the end. I thought I'd finally escaped the chaos, but Sarah wasn't done with me yet, and what came next would turn my world upside down. I thought I'd closed the door on Sarah for good that rainy October night, but I was wrong. A week later, I was in my Lakeview apartment, the Chicago skyline a dull glow through my window. window. I was browsing apartment listings on my laptop, trying to move on, when I heard a faint creak from the hallway. My heart skipped. I lived alone, and I hadn't buzzed anyone in. Before I could stand, a shadow moved in the corner of my eye. I turned just as Sarah stepped into the room, her face pale, her eyes wild. In her hand was a butcher knife from my kitchen, its blade catching the dim light. "Mike, why did you leave me?" she whispered, her voice trembling but sharp. My stomach dropped. I raised my hands, trying to stay calm. "Sarah, put the knife down. Let's talk." But her grip tightened, and she took a step closer. My pulse pounded in my ears. I backed up, my chair scraping the floor. She swung the knife downward, fast, and I dove to the side. The blade slammed into my keyboard, keys popping off like shrapnel. I scrambled to my feet, adrenaline surging. She swung again, her face twisted with rage, and I felt a sharp sting as the knife grazed my forearm, blood welling up through my sleeve. "Sarah, stop!" I shouted, dodging another swing. My apartment felt like a cage, every corner a trap. She lunged again, but I grabbed her wrist, twisting until the knife clattered to the floor. She screamed, clawing at me, her nails digging into my neck. I held her arms, pinning her against the wall, my heart racing. "Calm down, Sarah, please." She was sobbing now, her body shaking, but she kept fighting, her strength terrifying. Finally, she went limp, sliding to the floor, tears streaming down her face. I stepped back, my arm burning, blood dripping onto the hardwood. "I'm leaving," I said, my voice hoarse. "If you try to stop me, I'm calling the cops." Her eyes widened, and before I could move, she bolted to the kitchen. I heard drawers rattling, metal clinking. My gut twisted. I grabbed my phone, dialing 911 as I ran for the door. "She's got a knife," I told the operator, my voice shaking. "She's hurting herself." I glanced back and saw Sarah, another knife in her hand, dragging it across her arm, blood pooling on the tile. My heart stopped. "Hurry," I begged. I stumbled outside, the cold Chicago air hitting me like a slap. Sirens wailed in the distance as I stood on the sidewalk, my breath ragged. 2 cop cars screeched up, lights flashing. I started explaining, my words tumbling out, when a scream cut through the night. Sarah burst out of the building, her hair flying, blood streaking her arm. She was running straight at me, her eyes locked on mine, a mix of fury and desperation. The cops froze for a split second, stunned. I backed up, my foot catching on the curb. I tripped, hitting the pavement hard, and she was on me. Her hands clawed at my face, nails scraping my cheek. "Why don't you love me?" she screamed, her voice raw. I pushed her off, my arms shaking, but she came at me again, fists swinging. The cops finally snapped into action. One grabbed me, pulling me back, while another tackled Sarah. She kicked and thrashed, her screams echoing down the street. "Mike, I need you!" she yelled, tears mixing with the blood on her face. They wrestled her into the back of a squad car, her hands cuffed, her face pressed against the window as she stared at me, her eyes pleading. The cop holding me asked if I was okay. I nodded, but my face stung and my arm throbbed. Blood trickled down my cheek, warm and sticky. I watched the car pull away, Sarah's silhouette shrinking in the distance. My chest felt heavy, like I couldn't breathe. Relief washed over me, but so did guilt. She was hurting, and part of me felt like I'd failed her. I stood there, the sirens fading, my hands shaking as I tried to make sense of it all. I thought it was over, but deep down, I knew Sarah wasn't gone from my life yet. A few days after the chaos, I was still rattled, my arm bandaged and my face stinging from Sarah's nails. I was at my Lakeview apartment, trying to focus on work, when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me pick up. "Hello, this is Nurse Carter from Northwestern Memorial Hospital," a calm voice said. My stomach sank. "Sarah's been admitted to our psychiatric ward. She's asking for you, Mike. She's not doing well." My throat tightened. I wanted to hang up, to leave it all behind, but guilt gnawed at me. Sarah was alone, and despite everything, I still cared. I drove to the hospital, the Chicago traffic a blur. My hands gripped the wheel, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to turn back, but I kept going. At the hospital, a nurse led me through sterile hallways, the heavy thud of locked doors echoing behind us. Each step felt heavier, like I was walking into a trap. She stopped at a small room with a thick window. Sarah was inside, sitting on a bed, her knees pulled to her chest. She looked so small, her hair tangled, her eyes hollow. When she saw me, her face lit up, and she scrambled to the door, banging on the glass. "Mike!" she cried, her voice muffled. The nurse opened the door, and Sarah rushed at me, wrapping her arms around me so tight I could barely breathe. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed, her tears soaking my shirt. "I didn't mean it. I don't know what's wrong with me." My chest ached. I wanted to push her away, to protect myself, but her trembling body made me pause. I patted her back, awkward, my heart torn between fear and pity. "It's okay, Sarah," I said, my voice low. "You're here now. You're getting help." She pulled back, her eyes red and puffy, searching mine. "Please forgive me, Mike. I love you. I'll do anything to fix this." Her words hit hard. I remembered the girl from high school, the one who'd sneak me notes in class, not this broken woman in front of me. "Sarah, you scared me," I said, my voice shaking. "You hurt me. I don't know if I can do this." Her face crumpled, but she nodded, wiping her tears. "I know. I messed up, but I'm trying. I promise I'll get better." The nurse stood nearby, watching, her expression unreadable. I felt trapped, like I was supposed to have all the answers. "You need help, Sarah," I said finally. "Not Not just for me, but for you. You have to do this for yourself. She nodded again, her grip on my arm loosening. I will, she whispered. I'll try. Just don't give up on me. Please. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to walk away, to never look back, but another part couldn't abandon her like this. I'll be here, I said, the words heavy. But you have to work on this. For real. I left the hospital, my head spinning. The city lights blurred as I drove home, my heart a mess of anger, guilt, and something softer I couldn't name. I didn't know if I could trust Sarah again, but I couldn't shake the image of her, so small and scared. I wasn't sure what I was signing up for, but I knew I wasn't ready to let her go completely. Sarah was released from Northwestern Memorial after a month, and I picked her up on a crisp Chicago morning. She looked different, calmer, her eyes less haunted. We drove back to my Lakeview apartment in silence, the city buzzing around us. I wanted to believe she was better, but my arm still ached from the scar she'd left, a constant reminder of that night. I'm going to therapy, she said softly, staring out the window. I want to make this right, Mike. I nodded, my hands tight on the wheel. I cared about her, but trust was a long way off. We started slow. Coffee dates at the Bean in Millennium Park, walks along the lakefront trail, her hand brushing mine. She'd smile, tell me about her therapy, how she was learning to manage her anger. For a while, it felt good. We laughed over pizza at Pequod's, her eyes lighting up like they used to. I saw glimpses of the Sarah I fell for in high school, the one who'd dance with me in the rain. I wanted to believe we could rebuild, that we could be something real. But old habits die hard. A few weeks in, I noticed her checking my phone when she thought I wasn't looking. If I was late coming home from my studio in Wicker Park, she'd get quiet, her jaw tight. Who were you with? She'd ask, her voice sharp. I'd explain client meetings, a drink with Jake, but she'd stare at me like she was searching for a lie. I tried to be patient, remembering her therapy, but it wore me down. My friends saw it too. You're walking on eggshells, man, Jake said at a bar on Division Street. He wasn't wrong. One night, things cracked open. I'd gone out with coworkers to a pub in Logan Square, forgetting to text Sarah. When I got home, she was sitting on my couch, her arms crossed, eyes red. You didn't tell me where you were, she said, her voice low but shaking. I sighed, tired. Sarah, it was just drinks. I'm not hiding anything. Her face twisted. You don't get it, Mike. I'm scared you'll leave me. She stood, pacing, her hands clenched. I tried to calm her, but she snapped, grabbing a glass from the counter and smashing it on the floor. Shards scattered, glinting in the lamplight. My heart sank. I saw the old Sarah, the one with the knife. Sarah, you can't do this, I said, my voice steady but firm. You promised you'd try. She froze, tears spilling down her cheeks. I'm sorry, she whispered, sinking to the floor. I'm trying so hard. I love you, and it scares me. My chest ached. I wanted to walk away, but I couldn't. I knelt beside her, careful of the glass. I know you're trying, I said, but we can't keep doing this. You need to trust me. She nodded, sobbing, and I held her, the broken glass a silent warning between us. We started therapy together after that, at a clinic in Evanston. It was tough digging into her fears, my frustrations, the scars we both carried. Some days, it felt like progress. She'd open up about her insecurities, her fear of losing me, and I'd talk about my need for space. Other days, we'd leave in silence, her mood swings lingering like storm clouds. I was learning to be patient, but it wasn't easy. Every time she got jealous over a coworker's text or a late night at work, I'd brace myself, wondering if we'd spiral again. But she was trying, and so was I. For now, that was enough. Months passed, and Sarah and I were still navigating our fragile relationship, like walking a tightrope over Lake Michigan. Therapy in Evanston helped, but it wasn't a cure-all. Sarah had good days, laughing with me at Navy Pier, her eyes bright as we shared cotton candy. But her insecurities still flared, though less violently. I was learning to spot the signs: her clenched jaw, her too quick questions about my day. I stayed patient, reminding myself she was trying. So was I. We were building something, even if it felt like stacking cards in a storm. One evening, we sat on a bench in Grant Park, the Chicago skyline glowing against the dusk. Sarah leaned against me, her head on my shoulder. Mike, I know I'm a lot, she said, her voice soft, but I love you. I want to be better for you. My heart twisted. I saw her effort the therapy, the way she'd catch herself mid-outburst and breathe. I felt it too, the pull of our history, the girl who'd been my first everything. I didn't know if we'd make it, but I knew I wasn't ready to let go. I'd been carrying a ring in my pocket for weeks, a simple silver band I'd picked up at a shop in Andersonville. I wasn't sure why I bought it, maybe hope, maybe madness. That night, as the city lights flickered, I took a breath. My hands shook as I pulled out the box. Sarah, I said, my voice catching. She looked at me, eyes wide. I opened the box, the ring catching the streetlight. I love you. I know it's been rough, but I want us to do this right. Will you marry me? For a moment she froze, and I thought she'd say no. Then tears spilled down her cheeks, and she nodded, a smile breaking through. Yes, Mike, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. She threw her arms around me, sobbing into my neck. I held her tight, my own eyes stinging. The city hummed around us, oblivious to the weight of the moment. I felt relief, joy, and a quiet fear all at once. We weren't fixed, but we were choosing each other. We agreed to take it slow, no rushing into wedding plans, just focusing on us. We spent evenings cooking in my Lakeview apartment, laughing over burnt pasta, or walking through Lincoln Park, talking about our future. Sarah was different, more thoughtful, catching herself when jealousy crept in. "I'm working on it," she'd say, squeezing my hand. I believed her. I had to. But that ring on her finger felt like a promise and a risk, a leap into something I couldn't fully predict. The engagement ring on Sarah's finger was a promise, but it didn't erase the cracks in our foundation. We moved into a small house in Evanston, a fresh start away from my old Lakeview apartment. The place had a cozy porch, perfect for morning coffee, and we'd sit there, planning our future, a wedding, maybe a dog, dreams that felt within reach. Sarah was trying harder than ever, sticking to her therapy appointments at the clinic down the street. She'd come home with new coping strategies, scribbled in a notebook, and I'd catch her pausing to breathe when she got upset. It gave me hope, but I wasn't naive. Some days, her old fears crept back, like shadows we couldn't outrun. We had good moments, great ones even. We'd cook dinner together, laughing as we fumbled through recipes in our tiny kitchen. One night, we danced to an old Springsteen song, her head on my chest, the Chicago skyline faint in the distance. "I'm so lucky, Mike," she whispered. I held her tighter, wanting to believe it could stay like this, but her insecurities still surfaced. If I worked late at my studio, she'd text, her messages sharp. "You're with someone else, aren't you?" I'd call her, explain, but her silence on the line felt heavy, like a storm brewing. One evening, we fought hard. I'd gone to a client's gallery opening in Pilsen without telling her, caught up in the moment. I got home to find Sarah on the couch, her eyes red, her voice cold. "You didn't think to tell me?" she said. I tried to explain it was work, nothing more, but she cut me off. "I'm trying so hard, Mike, but you make it impossible." She stormed to our bedroom, slamming the door. My heart sank, the echo of that night with the knife ringing in my head. I sat on the couch, head in my hands, wondering if we'd ever break this cycle. Hours later, she came out, her face soft with regret. "I'm sorry," she said, sitting beside me. "I got scared again. I know you're not leaving me." I took her hand, my chest tight. "Sarah, I love you, but we can't keep doing this. We have to trust each other." She nodded, tears falling. "I'm trying, Mike. I promise." We held each other, the silence heavy but hopeful. I saw her effort, the way she fought her demons. I was learning, too, to communicate better, to be patient when she faltered. Therapy kept us grounded. Our counselor pushed us to talk openly, her fears, my frustrations. It wasn't perfect, but it helped. Sarah's bad days were fewer, her apologies quicker. I learned to give her space when she needed it, to not take her moods personally. We were a team, flawed but fighting. One night, as we sat on our porch, the stars bright above Evanston, she looked at me. "Thank you for not giving up," she said. I squeezed her hand. "We're in this together, Sarah, always." Our future wasn't certain, but it was ours. We talked about a small wedding, maybe at a park along Lake Michigan, and a life built on hard-won trust. I knew there'd be more challenges, Sarah's struggles wouldn't vanish, but we were stronger now, tethered by love and effort. As we sat there, the night air cool, I felt a quiet peace. We weren't perfect, but we were enough.